Hey guys, Reese here. Thanks again for stopping by and checking out the channel. I love watching videos on YouTube surrounding finance and real estate, and that's partly why I made this YouTube channel, to hopefully add some value to you guys on your path to financial freedom, as well as share some of the ups and downs of my journey. However, although I love watching a lot of educational videos on YouTube, sometimes it's important to take a step back and admire what you've accomplished and focus some of your energy on staying motivated on that path. And so that's what I want to do today. And to do that today, I want to take a look at the average net worth of Americans by age group. I love doing things like this to kind of compare where I'm at in my life and in my journey to where the averages are. And this can be used to feel accomplished if you're farther ahead than the average, or you can use the averages as goals moving forward if you're below the averages. However, it's important to just use these averages as goal markers if you are below them. Everybody kind of starts their paths at different points and has different circumstances to overcome, so you shouldn't feel bad if you're below the averages. Instead, use them to remotivate yourself to accomplish more and to continue to drive forward on your financial goal, whatever it be. So in order to compare our net worth with the average, we obviously first need that net worth. And to do so, we first need to calculate our assets. And your assets include things like the value of your home, retirement accounts, individual stock accounts, cash, your car, and any other investments you have or things of value. And then in addition to assets, we need to calculate our liabilities. This is things like the mortgage you have against your house, your car loan, credit card debt, student loans, and anything else you owe money on. And then finally, it's a very simple calculation, and you just subtract your liabilities from your assets. And that equals your net worth, no matter if that number is positive or negative. Now, of course, don't worry too much if your net worth is negative. When I started tracking my net worth at around 22, my net worth was negative $3,000. And I'm well aware that I was much better than most at that age because I worked a job throughout college and my parents helped cover some of that tuition. It's not that uncommon for somebody in their 20s and early 30s to have a negative net worth. This age group tends to be when you're first starting your career, or you're a few years into your career and your income is still substantially lower than it will be later on in your life. Throughout your 20s and maybe even into your early 30s, you might still even have some student debt. You're probably buying your first home or a new car, and some of us are even starting a family, getting married and having children, and all of these things are very expensive, and they all tend to occur relatively early on in your life. And so it's very important not to get discouraged by this if you have a negative or a low net worth in your 20s and early 30s, as it's just important to know this number and know how you can improve it. Now, when we look at the average net worth for an American in their 20s, the average net worth is approximately $57,000. However, this number is extremely deceiving. If you're anything like me, you're probably thinking there's no way the average American in their 20s, whether 20 years old or 29 years old, has $57,000, when we also know the average American doesn't have $1,000 in their bank account for an emergency. And you'd be absolutely right. We can't use averages when it comes to net worth because the top 1% of Americans skew the numbers far too much. For example, Mark Zuckerberg became a billionaire at 23, and he's included in these averages. So instead, we need to use the median net worths because they show a more accurate picture. The median takes into consideration the number of data points. So for example, there are millions of 20-year-olds with a zero net worth, and maybe only 5 to 10 billionaires in their 20s. And so the median net worth for somebody in their 20s is $6,500, which is much more realistic. Now, this number is well within the realm of possibility for most of us, and if you're in your early 20s, starting your new career, and maybe in a little bit of debt through student loans, I think this is a great number to aim for and aim to exceed it. Now, there are a few things you can do to start working towards these goals at any age group. And I recently made a video on this topic, and I'll link it somewhere in the corner of this video. However, the first thing you can do is focus on saving 50% of your income. This is a very big goal for some of us, especially those with lower income. However, in the video I'll link in the description and a card up near the top, I go into some helpful tips on how to start working your way towards saving 50% of your income. In addition to this, you should really start paying off high interest debt. Student loans and mortgages are usually relatively lower interest, somewhere around 3 to 5%, and those are okay. However, anything above 5%, you should really focus on paying off quickly. Those interest payments will just continue to add up and make it even more difficult to save 50% of your income. And my third and final step is really to just start investing. If your employer offers employer match for your 401k, you should really start contributing up to your employer max, but really no more above your employer max. You could also consider contributing to an IRA. However, I'd start saving some cash and putting it aside to put a low down payment on your first rental property. By buying your first rental property, whether it just be a duplex, that'll put you substantially far beyond any of these average net worths we see, even throughout your 60s. And no matter what age you are, these 3 steps, if you haven't implemented them, will help improve your net worth handsomely no matter what. Now in your 30s, the average net worth is $174,000, and the median is about $32,000. In your 40s, the average is approximately $457,000, and the median is about $93,000. In your 30s and 40s, we really start to see just how skewed these averages are compared to the median by these 1%ers. Now in your 30s, you really should have aimed to have saved 1 times your salary and invested it in something. So for example, if you've been making around $50,000 throughout your 20s, you should have about $50,000 saved and invested by 30, 2 times by 35, and 3 times by 40. So that means by 40, you'd have about $150,000 saved and invested. These investments can be primarily retirement accounts and maybe some individual investment accounts. However, I'd also highly recommend you put a good amount of your savings into real estate. Real estate is obviously a little bit more labor intensive. However, the returns far outweigh the sacrifices you'll need to make. I strongly believe that in your 20s through your mid 40s, you should be investing very aggressively. If you were to lose some money on an investment in your 30s or 40s, you still have about 20 years of, on average, your highest income earning years to make up that loss. And so I highly recommend getting into residential rental property earlier on in your life, especially if it's something you're nervous about doing. As if you did fail with rental property, which is very hard to do, you'll still have plenty of time to make up those losses and invest in other assets during your employed years. Now, the last 2 age groups we'll look at are your 50s, in which the average net worth is about $1 million, and the median is about $152,000. And in your 60s, the average net worth is about $1.12 million, and the median is about $221,000. And once again, just as in your 30s and 40s, the 1% very wealthy substantially skew the average versus the median. So it's so important that we're comparing our journey to the median and not the average. However, the average can be a great goal to set. The unfortunate thing is, we should really be aiming for the average net worth by your 50s and 60s and not the median, because the median net worth is substantially too low for retirement, especially as the dollar continues to lose value over your lifespan. And this is really why we want to focus on aggressively growing our wealth through heavy investment in the stock market and investment in real estate, because the median net worth of $221,000 in your 60s is just substantially too low to live off of. The average lifespan of Americans is around 79 years. And if you work until you're 65 and have the median net worth of $221,000, which is including equity in your home, by the way, not just cash in your bank account and your stocks, you'll eventually need to sell your home just to live off $16,000 a year, not including Social Security. Now, what happens if the stock market loses value, like it has recently, or you have unforeseen medical expenses, which tend to happen as you get older? That $221,000, or around $16,000 a year, is just not enough. And that's why for every age group, I would recommend aiming to hit the average net worth and not the median. This will of course be more difficult, but by saving around 50% of your income and investing in real estate, this is definitely very achievable. And we can see that just through my example, where I just passed $200,000 in net worth, and I'm 26 years old, and we saw earlier that the average in your 20s is only $6,500. Now, achieving an average net worth in your 60s of $1.2 million, maybe by the time you retire at 65, will allow you to retire comfortably and actually enjoy your retirement and not be stressed about your finances. And if some of that net worth is invested in real estate, that real estate will pay you rental income monthly and provide that residual income, as well as give you something to then pass on to your heirs. So guys, I really hope that motivates you a little bit to, no matter what age you are, go out and just do more, achieve more than the average. And I know that's difficult, and I know that's hard to think about if you're in some tough situations right now. However, I strongly believe that with a little financial education and just some increased awareness of your finances on a weekly basis, you can substantially improve your net worth no matter where you are. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please like this video and leave a comment below maybe on how you're going to improve your net worth over the next few years. And guys, if you also aren't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe right now. I cover real estate, personal finance, wealth building strategies twice a week, and I'd really love to see you back here for the next one. So thanks again guys, I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next video.